Today's episode is brought to you by Mazars.
SoundCartel.
From SoundCartel, I'm Nicole Goodman, and this is Business Essentials Daily. The Fair Work Act was introduced in 2009 to ensure both employers and employees adhere to a minimum set of standards and responsibilities. Cheryl-Anne Laird, head of the HR and IR division at Mazars, says it's important that employers understand what's in the Act. The Fair Work Act has been amended several times now through the Closing Loopholes legislation. Chris Ashmore asks Cheryl-Anne whether that's it. Have all the changes now been implemented?
No, some of the initial changes commenced in December 2023 and others remain to be implemented through to August 2025.
In your view, are there any of the changes more concerning for employers generally?
Yes, there are a number of changes, although significant for those employers and employees directly affected, such as the changes to labour hire. These do not impact on the remainder of the workforce. Amongst our client base and more generally, I'm being asked about two of the changes more than any of the others. These are the changes to casual employment and the introduction of a right to disconnect.
Why do you think these are the more concerning changes for employers?
I think the problems with these is the hype surrounding them much more than the reality of the actual changes.
Well, let's start then with the changes to casual employment. Can you tell us when are these changes for casual employment going to commence?
The casual employment definition change will take effect from the 26th of August 2024. The changes to conversion from casual to permanent employment will also commence on 26 August 2024 for employers other than small business employers. For small business employers, they have an additional period of time until the 26th of February 2025.
And what are the changes to the definition of casual employment?
The new definition of casual employment retains the current approach of distinguishing casual from permanent employment by the fact that an employer does not give a casual employee a firm commitment to offer continuing and indefinite work. Essentially, an employee will genuinely be a casual employee under the new definition if there is not a firm commitment to continuing and indefinite work, factoring in the real substance, practical reality and true nature of the employment relationship, and the employee is entitled to a casual loading or a specific rate of pay for casuals.
And what are the considerations for an employer in deciding if an employee is indeed genuinely a casual employee?
The types of things that will need to be considered in determining if someone is genuinely a casual employee is somewhat open-ended at this stage. However, we believe that the likely things to be considered will be whether there is a mutual understanding or expectation between the employer and the employee about the nature of the employment, whether the employee can elect to accept or reject any offer of employment, the future availability of continuing work, and whether there are perhaps other employees performing the same work who are part-time or full-time employees, and whether there is a regular pattern of work.
So just on that last one, are you saying that a casual employee can never work a regular pattern of work?
Not quite. A casual employee who has a regular pattern of work may still be a casual employee if there is no firm advanced commitment to continuing and indefinite work. For example, a casual employee may advise the employer that they are only available to accept casual shifts within a narrow scope. For example, only night shifts on Fridays and Sunday nights. If these are the only shifts that are offered and accepted by the employee, they would appear to be a regular pattern of work. However, if there is no genuinely firm, advanced commitment to continuing and indefinite work, in those circumstances, the employee will still be correctly defined as a casual employee.
Mazars is an international audit, tax and advisory firm committed to helping clients confidently build and grow their businesses. Move forward with Mazars. visit mazars.com.au. That's mazars.com.au.
What's changing then when it comes to the right of a casual employee to convert to permanent employment?
So the current parameters, which will continue to apply until August, are that there is a positive obligation on employers to make offers of conversion to casual employees in certain circumstances. One of those is that the casual employee has to have been engaged for at least 12 months. Another is that in the 6 months before the offer, that casual employee has worked a regular pattern of hours on an ongoing basis without any significant adjustment, and that the employee has the capacity to work full-time or part-time work. The definition change will mean that that current positive obligation will cease from the 26th of August for most employers and from the 26th of February 2025 for small business employers. Casual employees will only need to be engaged for at least 6 months or 12 months if they're with a small employer. They cannot make a request if they've made a previous request in the last 6 months and that request has been denied. One of the major changes is here it's not going to be an offer by the employer. The employee simply needs to notify their employer that they no longer believe that they are a casual employee under the Fair Work Act definition. And on being notified by the employee, the employer will be required to consider if the employee can be converted to permanent employment. An employer can refuse such a request, but only on reasonable grounds. And Fair Work Commission will have new powers to determine by arbitration whether an employer has reasonable grounds to refuse a request for casual conversion.
So reasonable grounds, of course, the $64,000 question is, what does that mean exactly when it comes to declining a request for casual conversion?
There are no absolute fixed rules, but the sorts of reasonable grounds to decline a request which are expected to be successful are things like in the next 12 months, the employer's position will cease to exist. The employee's hours of work would need to be significantly reduced if they were converted to permanent employment. The employee's days or times of work would significantly change, and they are times and dates on which the casual employee is not available to work permanent employment, and the employer would have to make significant adjustments to the employee's work hours for them to be employed on a full-time or part-time basis.
What if an employee doesn't want to convert to permanent employment?
This happens more often than you expect under the current rules. This is one of the benefits of the upcoming changes, as employers will no longer be required to make offers to convert. They will be required to respond to requests to convert, so only needing to consider this issue when an employee is genuinely interested in changing their employment status. If an employee wishes to remain a casual employee, they may do so. When an employee makes a request for conversion to permanent employment, the employer is going to have to give genuine consideration to the request and to only rely on those valid reasons if they intend to decline such a request.
Well, Cheryl-Anne, there's a lot to think about there, but do you have any final words to sum up what we've talked about today?
I think that employers absolutely need to be aware of the changes coming up with casual employment, but they don't need to panic. The changes are not as significant as perhaps people might have been led to believe in the beginning, and employers who make conscious, smart decisions are going to be able to continue to manage their workforces as best suits their needs and their business requirements.
That was Cheryl-Anne Laird, Head of the HR and IR Division at Mazars. This episode of Business Essentials Daily is produced by the team at SoundCartel. Thanks for listening. I'm Nicole Goodman. We'll bring you more Be Daily tomorrow. Follow at BE Daily Podcast across social media and head to bedaily.com.au for more from the Business Essentials Daily podcast. SoundCartel. This episode was brought to you by Mazars. To find out more, visit mazars.com.au. That's mazars.com.au. soundcartel.com.au.